When it comes time to sit down and watch a movie with your sweetheart on Valentine's Day, you're going to want something that gets your pulse to quicken. Something that makes your hands start to get a little clammy. Something with heart. Well, blood at least. No, we're not talking about the most romantic movies, and we're certainly not thinking about funny rom-coms. We're talking that more elusive, niche genre, the Valentine's Day horror movie. Be ready to take your best from the best Valentine's Day horror movies. One. My Bloody Valentine. 1981 movie. On Valentine's Day 20 years before, an explosion of methane gas took the lives of a group of coal miners working in the Haniger mine near the small Nova Scotia town of Valentine Bluffs. The accident occurred because supervisors left their posts to attend the annual Valentine's Day dance. A year afterward, Harry Warden, the only survivor of the accident, retaliated by killing the two supervisors, and leaving a terrifying warning never to hold another Valentine's Day dance. Now, a group of young adults decides to hold another dance, despite warnings. When a blood-soaked heart arrives at the police station, accompanied by an ominous message, the dance is cancelled. But a Valentine party is held in its place, at the coal mine, and it isn't long before the town's young people begin dying violently. It appears Harry Warden has returned to punish those who did not heed his warning. 2. Picnic at Hanging Rock. 1975 movie. Against the backdrop of a hot street. Valentine's Day in early 1900s Victoria, the stern Mrs. Appleyard's girls from the strict Appleyard College prepare for a field trip to Hanging Rock, the majestic volcanic formation near Mount Macedon. Under the scorching sun, 3 students, Miranda, Marion, and Irma, receive permission to explore the rock only to go missing later that day, and what is even more disturbing, when a 4th girl, Edith, returns screaming, the school teacher, Miss McCraw, disappears without a trace. The 4 women seem to have vanished into thin air. What has truly happened in Hanging Rock's deep and sharp crevices? 3. Raising Cain. 1992 movie. The psychologist Dr. Carter Nix leaves a park with his little daughter Amy and takes a ride with the mother of another child. He tries to convince her to leave her son travel to Norway for an experiment with his father, but she does not accept. Dr. Nix uses chloroform to take her boy and leaves the unconscious woman in the trunk of her car with his brother Cain to get rid of her. His wife Dr. Jenny Nix is worried about his obsession for Amy. When Jenny meets her former lover Jack in a store, she has a love affair with him and plans to leave her husband. However, Carter discovers their love affair and he kills a babysitter and leaves clues incriminating Jack. Then he suffocates Jenny with a pillow, puts her body into her car and submerges it in a swamp. Carter goes to the police department claiming that his wife and his daughter are missing. He also tells that he had seen a stranger in the park. Lt. Terry and Sergeant Callie that are in charge of the investigation asks Carter to do a sketch of the suspect. However, a veteran detective recalls the case of Carter's father and he summons Dr. Waldheim that discloses how deranged his father was. Out of the blue, Jenny returns and now the police needs to find where the kidnapped children are. 4. Bride of Chucky. 1998 movie. Sorry Jack. Chucky's back. In this horror flick, the murderous serial killer, Charles Lee Ray, has his body parts being held at a criminal evidence station in the form of a small doll known as the famous Chucky. When his old-time sweetheart, Tiffany, picks up his remaining limbs and puts them back together, she performs a ritual that revives the murderous maniac. But Chucky decides that he wants another individual to help him with his dirty work. So he kills Tiffany, and then revives her as a doll bride. When they decide to spend their honeymoon with another happy couple on the highway, it becomes another murder spree. With a bloodbath on wheels and 2 murderous dolls, the human couples find that this was going to be a highway to hell in this gruesome film of blood and gore and a little bit of Chucky and Tiffany. 5. My Valentine. 2020 movie. A pop singer's songs and artistic identity have been stolen by her ex-boyfriend, manager and shamelessly pasted onto his new girlfriend, protege. Locked together in a small concert venue after hours, the three of them confront the emotional abuses of the past, until things turn violent. 6. Pontypool. 2009 movie. Grant, Stephen McCarty, Sydney, Lisa Houle, and Dr. Mendez, Hrant Alionic, discover that people aren't getting infected by contact, they are getting infected by certain words. When people think about and understand a certain word, they become infected, and must seek out and destroy the source of the sound, or they will die violently. They also discover that the cure is the exact opposite. If someone is repeating a word over and over, that is the infected word for that person. If they are confused about the meaning of that word, then their brains cannot understand the word, and they are cured. This information, however, comes too late. The French-Canadian police react to the rioting by the infected people violently, and begin bombing Pontypool in an effort to kill all the infected people, since they do not know there is a cure. Since Grant and Sydney are shouting nonsensical phrases over the radio in an effort to confuse, and thus cure, the population, the police also assume they are infected, too. The movie ends with a countdown coming from the police bombers, and the screen goes black. It is assumed they bombed the rest of Pontypool, killing Grant and Sydney with it. 7. Valentine. 2001 movie. It is the late 1980s. At a high school dance, young nerdish-looking Jeremy Melton is spurned and insulted by every girl he asks to dance, except one named Dorothy. Later they start making out under the bleachers until a group of bullies discover them, and Dorothy says Jeremy attacked her. The boys further humiliate Jeremy by violently assaulting him and pulling off his clothes. About 12 years later, those same girls are in their 20s and enjoying the dating scene. But Jeremy has mysteriously disappeared. After one of the girls, Shelley, has a date with an arrogant loser, she is savagely murdered in her medical school's anatomy lab by a tall, sinister man dressed in a dark coat and wearing a cherub mask. Just before her death, Shelley received a threatening Valentine's Day card. The other girls soon start receiving similar cards shortly after, and one at a time, they start dying violently. When police inform them that Jeremy Melton has not been seen or heard from for many years, Dorothy speculates that he may have had plastic surgery and worked out to change his appearance. Kate has recently found herself a new boyfriend, but Dorothy suspects he may in fact be Jeremy, using his new look to get close to the girls who spurned him so many years before, and seeking revenge. 8. My Bloody Valentine. 2009 movie. In the mining town of Harmony, a drilling accident is caused by the son of the owner, Tom Hanniger. The mine collapses, burying 6 miners alive. The rescue team finds only Harry Warden alive, but in coma, and the other miners murdered by his pickaxe, and they conclude that Harry killed them to save oxygen for himself. On Valentine's Day, Harry awakes from his coma in the local hospital, and he kills 22 people, including a group of teenagers that are partying in the mine. Harry is killed by the deputy, but the only survivors are Tom Hanniger, his girlfriend Sarah, their friend Axel Palmer and his girlfriend Irene. 10 years later, Tom returns to Harmony after the death of his father. Tom has decided to sell the Hanniger mine, and finds that Sarah has married Axel, who is now the local sheriff, and they have a son named Noah. On Valentine's Day, Harry Warden also returns, seeking revenge against those that had escaped his pickaxe in the past, and Tom is accused by Axel and other locals, who in turn makes accusations against Axel. 9. Tales from the Crypt. 1972 movie. 5 people come upon a catacomb and take the tour. After they get lost, they find they're trapped, and they see the crypt keeper, Sir Ralph Richardson. He asks them each to see why they're there. One and all through the house. Christmas Eve, Joanne Clayton, Dame Joan Collins, kills her husband, Martin Body, expecting to receive his insurance. She hears on the wireless that the police are seeking an escaped homicidal maniac posing as Santa. When the man knocks on her door, she can't phone the police, and she has a Christmas surprise. 2. Reflection of Death. Carl Maitland, Ian Hendry, leaves his wife, Susan Denny, and children for his mistress, but something happens during his journey. 3. Poetic Justice. The widowed janitor, Arthur Edward Grimsdyke, Peter Cushing, is a good man who spends his leisure time with the children from the neighborhood. His heartless neighbor doesn't like him and destroys his life, leading Grimsdyke to commit suicide on Valentine's Day. A year later, Grimsdyke rises from his tomb seeking revenge. 4. Wish You Were Here. Dirty businessman Ralph Jason Richard Green is bankrupt, and his lawyer and friend, Charles Gregory Roy Dotrice, tells him he must sell his real estate. When he tells his wife Enid Barbara Murray, she recalls they have a statue with a legend, it'll grant 3 wishes to the owner. She makes the wishes, and leads Ralph to eternal damnation. 5. Blind Alleys. Cruel Major Rogers Nigel Patrick comes to the Elmridge home for the blind, with his dog, to be the new director. He tortures the interns until the day they get revenge. Soon, the interns discover they're at the gate of hell. 10. X-Ray. 1982 movie. In 1961, young Susan, Elizabeth Hoy, and David are playing with a train with paper Valentine's Day hearts all around the room. A boy watching from outside leaves a red envelope at the front door and knocks. Susan answers, and she shows David an Valentine's card from Harold. The two laugh and crumple it up. Susan goes to the kitchen to cut some cake, and when she walks back into the living room, David is dead and hanging on a coat rack. Susan turns and sees a smiling Harold standing by the open window. She screams and the young killer runs away. 19 years later, on Valentine's Day 1980, the grown-up Susan Jeremy Barbie Benton has to go to the L.A. County Hospital for cancer test results, and she tells her ex-husband Tom, Jimmy Stathis, to watch their 8-year-old daughter Eva. Susan's fiancé, Jack John Van Ness, drives her to the hospital, and he asks if it is the same hospital where a patient once ran amok. Susan goes inside and heads for Dr. Jacobs' office. In the elevator, Susan meets hospital patient Hal Lanny Duncan, who at first appears bloody and dead but is only napping after enjoying a burger with excessive ketchup. Susan inadvertently goes to the cloudy 9th floor where 3 men in gas masks are fumigating to tell her to leave. The elevator stops and Susan bangs on the door for help. Meanwhile, Dr. Jacobs is called to the 9th floor. She uses the stairs. Suddenly, the doctor is murdered by someone wearing OR scrubs and a doctor's surgical mask. 11. Down. 2019 movie. In a high-rise office building on the evening before Valentine's Day, Guy Matt Loria and Jennifer Natalie Martinez have been separately working late. Apparently the last people to leave, they enter the same elevator on different floors and make small talk. On the way down, the elevator abruptly stops due to the thunderstorm outside. With no cell phone signal, they worry they'll be stuck in the elevator together until Tuesday morning, as Monday is President's Day. At 12. Cupid. 2020 movie. The movie begins with the story of the Roman god, Cupid. He was the protector of love, and fell in love with the beautiful soul goddess, Psyche. However, his mother was jealous of Psyche's beauty, so to prove she was worthy of Cupid's love, she made Psyche perform 3 impossible tasks. But when she completed the tasks, Psyche was drained, so Cupid pricked her with his arrow to give her energy. But little did he know, his mother had poisoned the arrow and the prick caused Psyche to die. Furious, Cupid vowed to never allow love and went to the god of death to be filled with anger and hate. Over the centuries, under the right circumstances, Cupid could be summoned to bring fury to those who abuse love. The story ends as we see a couple on a date for Valentine's Day. We then meet a self-centered man named Carl, as he brags about himself, causing his date to excuse herself to use the restroom. She calls her friend from the bathroom, saying she is going to sneak out of the restaurant because Carl is a jerk, and he is not at all like he seemed on the dating site. Shortly after, Carl's daughter Sandy rushes into the restaurant crying. 13. The Love Witch. 2016 movie. Elaine, a beautiful young witch, is driving to Arcata, California, a town which tolerates witchcraft, to start a new life after the death of her husband Jerry. It is heavily implied that Elaine may have murdered him. Once there, she rents an apartment in a Victorian home owned by Elaine's mentor Barbara and kept up by its interior decorator, Trish Manning. In an attempt to befriend the young woman, Trish takes Elaine to a tea house, where she is met by her husband Richard, who is instantly besotted with Elaine after meeting her gaze. Hoping to find a new lover, Elaine performs a ritual to find one and soon meets Wayne, a literature professor at the local college. The two travel to Wayne's cabin, where she gets him to drink a concoction containing hallucinogens. Once the two have sex, Wayne becomes emotional and clingy, which proves to be a turnoff for Elaine. He dies the next day and Elaine buries his body along with a witch bottle containing her urine and used tampon. She decides that the next man she will try to seduce will be Richard since he is married and cannot obsess over her. While Trish is away, Elaine invites him over to her apartment, where she also serves him a concoction before seducing him with a dance. The night ends with them having sex. Afterwards, Richard becomes obsessed with Elaine, causing her to abandon their affair. Only Lovers Left Alive. 2013 movie. In the abandoned Delray, Michigan, the depressed musician Adam Tom Hiddleston lives in an old house in the middle of derelict buildings with his musical instruments and books. Adam has been a vampire for centuries, but is tired with the fate of the world taken by the wrong decisions of mankind. He has a confidentiality agreement with Ian, Anton Yelchin, who provides rare instruments to him and does not ask questions. Adam poses as Dr. Faust and buys blood bags from Dr. Watson, Jeffrey Wright, in a nearby hospital. His wife and lover Eve Tilda Swinton lives in Tangier, Morocco, and is also a vampire. Her best friend is Christopher, Kit, Marlowe, Sir John Hurt, who supplies blood for her that he buys from a French doctor. When Eve calls Adam from Tangier, she feels that he is down and she decides to fly to Detroit to meet him. She meets Kit to say goodbye to him and Kit tells Eve that he had a dream with her younger sister Ava, Mia Wasikowska. Eve and Adam reunite and spend the nights loving each other. Out of the blue, the wild and reckless Ava comes to Adam's house and turns their lives upside down. Bones and All. 2022 movie. In 1980s Virginia, teenager Maren yearly bites through a girl's finger, partially severing it at a sleepover. She and her single father, Frank, swiftly relocate to Maryland. Shortly after Maren's 18th birthday, Frank abandons her, leaving behind cash, her birth certificate, and a tape. On the tape, Frank recounts the story of Maren's first cannibalistic episode, when she killed her babysitter at 3 years old. Similar incidents continued to occur over the years, and while Frank helped her evade consequence, he anguished over Maren's lack of remorse. He concludes with the hope that she will overcome her urges. Maren heads to Minnesota, where her mother, Janelle, of whom she has no memories, was born. She takes a bus to Columbus, Ohio, where she encounters Sully, an eccentric man and fellow eater, who found her by scent. She follows Sully to a house wherein an elderly woman is near death. Maren awakens in the morning to find Sully devouring the woman's corpse and joins him. Maren flees soon after. These are the best 15 Valentine's Day horror movies to run your pulse and enjoy the romance at once. Please subscribe this channel. And if you enjoyed, like this video, so that many people can enjoy too. Finally, check best Valentine's Day romance movies and others on the end screen. For now, I wish you all the best. Happy Valentine's Day.